Some women do bathroom poses. Don't dress up like crazy. Many women try to be very dressed for the photos. Rug on the wall, normally Bordeaux color. Hello guys, so today we're gonna discuss photos at home. Just recently I made several videos, makeup that is aging you, hair that is aging you, clothes that is normally aging you, or is dowdy just in general. And last week we spoke about self-made photos on nature. Today we're gonna talk about beautiful pictures at home. These pictures are made with different purposes. Some women just want to put it on their social media. Some women are looking for a man. Some women just do it for themselves. But then they feel that there's something off there and they can't tell what it is. And why is that? We're gonna talk about in this video. First, let's talk about specifics of pictures at home. Many women try to be very dressed for the photos, and I understand that very much, which is great. Yeah, we all want to kind of do some makeup and hair, but the way how you add the color there, that is a different thing. And also what you put in yourself and what is your background also play a huge role in the way how your photo looks. Now, I'm gonna show you these pictures today, but little disclaimer, I think that these women are very beautiful, each one of them. But the style they're choosing is quite often not reflecting present time aesthetic trends. But when I say trends, I don't want to sound like slave to fashion. I'm just mostly gonna talk about modern day aesthetic and what is really aesthetically pleasing nowadays. So you would look much fresher. We just need a little makeover. Sometimes it's just a matter of a couple of things. So when you're making pictures in your house, and let's say you look extremely modern, very pretty, you just got back from the salon. But if your house looks like this picture is not gonna look modern. It will make you look less pretty than you are. Believe it or not, environment is very important. Let's run through history just a little bit. So at the beginning, people lived in houses like this. Then it was like this. Then it was like this. So they were upgrading their houses until they learned how to create that beauty. So probably the most beautiful and complicated shapes and patterns were made in the middle of 18th century when it was Rococo or Baroque. So those styles are absolutely rich in their presentation. Probably after that, things started going back to simplicity. Not poor simplicity, but I would say just simplicity in forms and in colors. Because of course in the 18th century and before, there was a huge difference between poor people and rich people of course lived like that. Poor people lived absolutely opposite. And then many revolutions started happening in the world and poor people trying to balance everything so they would live better and rich would live worse. And then there was industrial revolution. Also many people came to live in the cities, and instead of houses they started building apartments, and it was much more comfortable for people to live. Now they have their own toilet, now they have their own bath, which is a luxury for everyone. So people more or less started balancing. Middle class appeared and many things happened. I'm not gonna bore you with that. It's just important to understand how we use different elements in our environment to make it pretty looking without even understanding where different things come from. I don't know how about United States or Europe or Canada or Australia, but for example in Russia that type of an interior is very popular, and mostly it is, first of all, wallpaper with different floral pattern or abstract. The new wave of abstract wallpaper started probably in 2000s, I would say. Also wallpaper with shimmer, very popular. Rug on the wall, normally Bordeaux color and normally very similar. Wooden floors, quite low ceilings, chandelier, furniture, different kinds of florals or leaves pattern. And a bit later in 2000, it was leather couches, slightly unshaped, rounded. Yellow light in the center of the room, not very much of a side lighting, and curtains, normally in color that is not matching to the rest in your house, or different kinds of floral prints or abstract prints, also made with slightly satin finish sometimes. I was born in Russia and I was born in Chelyabinsk. It's a city in the center of Russia. So that place where I could put one foot to Asia, another foot to Europe, was not far from where I was born. Those are two very different cultures. When it was USSR, there were so many different cultures that were mixed together and that were exchanging a lot. Moscow and St. Petersburg historically were very close to Europe, and stylistically they were very close. Now all these carpets, they come from Asia, from Eastern world. and all that kind of mixed together. There are loads of different historical things that actually caused all these apartments look very similar. People were having this not because of their taste sometimes. We can't speak about taste if you don't have whether money to buy things with or you don't have things. You don't have much choice. You are getting something just because it's there. Like it was in the USSR. People didn't have money, but when they did have money, they couldn't buy certain things. And if they could, then these things were very similar. Everybody wanted them. So they would all be in a line and waiting for their turn to buy these things. So for example, when I was a kid, we had these metal cans for kitchen where you put cacao, cinnamon, and things like this with names on them. They were red with white dots, and I remember it very clearly. I loved those cans, but we never had stuff that was written on them. When it said cacao, we'd have salt in there. We didn't have much. We had maybe sugar, salt, flour, and soda. That's probably it. 20 years later, when I met my husband, I came to his house and they had absolutely same cans. Because in the USSR, as I said again, it was very cool to have them. It was quite prestigious. They're good middle class people, as I heard. Same with rugs. I just recently was wondering, why did they put the rug on the wall? And there are so many pictures on the internet. People are posing by these rugs by the wall. And I asked my friend Kate. She knows everything about architecture, interior design, history. When I need some information, I'm just asking her. By the way, she has her channel in Russian about architecture. I'm gonna leave the link down below. I asked her, listen, why there are rugs on the walls? And she said, first of all, people were collecting money for a long time to be able to buy this rug because it was quite rare. So when you actually buy it, you would not want everybody walk on it because they would ruin it. So you would put it on the wall as an art piece. And another reason, it's very possible that after 1930s, in Russia, after that Stalin repressions, that was very dangerous to talk against somebody and your neighbors would hear you. And the apartments were quite small and the walls were very thin. The rug would isolate the sound a little bit. And there are still a lot of people who live in these old apartments and they still have everything from the 50s, from the 40s even sometimes. So I have a huge understanding for that. It's just I myself, I'm very sensitive to what is surrounding me, to colors, patterns, and some noisiness is giving me a lot of tiredness because aesthetic and clean aesthetic is very important for me. I googled interior designs in the United States and things are a little bit calmer there. Floral wallpapers up to the 80s. In the 80s it was wooden panels, brown houses inside. Then it was Toscana interior, very popular. Different villas in Italy used to have those similar elements to this style. Everything was in warm colors with black, with dark wood, with yellow light, with black metal, chandeliers and things like that. Kind of nice, maybe cozy a little bit, but still it was a little bit too yellow. And then in 2010s, this design was already out of style. And I remember the theory behind these yellowish walls because people were saying, I don't want to have white walls like in a hospital. Everything that was a little bit too cold, whether blue or very white walls, it reminded people of a hospital, so they wanted to do something absolutely opposite. And to some degree, I think they're right because at home when we have this yellow light, it's quite calming for our nervous system. It's the light of a candle. It's all kind of soothing. Yeah, it's all grounding. On the other hand, starting probably in the 80s especially, and people started getting stuff. Loads of random things in the houses. Just didn't have enough storage for them. And then people got tired of it. And in 2010s, that Scandinavian, Swedish minimalism came into place and many people started changing their apartments and their houses to completely white and getting everything else in a very neutral and light tones. That created some kind of a clarity for their mind. Put a lot of plants in the house. They started changing yellow lamps to more white lamp, but not extremely white, something in between. I think that is 4000. That is the most ideal. It's quite nice. It's not very yellow, so it's still quite realistic. You still can see colors quite realistically with this light, but when it's super white, it's more like office light or surgery room. Always better just when it's mixed together like a moonlight. Yeah, moon is not very white, not very yellow. So this light is quite nice. So with this kind of light, it's quite hard to make yourself look pretty because your skin won't look pretty enough. All the blemishes on your skin, all the unwanted shadows, unfortunately, are gonna show up and your skin is not gonna glow very much as with this kind of light, because this light is not accentuating the real luminosity of your skin. It doesn't go through your skin, doesn't reflect from your skin. So that is the only thing. However, in the movies and in some pictures, we can see pictures with yellow light. So it's not necessarily that it looks bad, but it has its own laws on how to make this picture pretty, and also it should tell a certain story. So if you really want to make yourself look pretty in the room, so of course it's a little bit better to have a bit wider light, a bit brighter light, preferably light that is shining on your face. It can happen by the window too, and lighter walls. It's just you can never go wrong with that. When we finally had enough money, when we finally had enough stuff to buy, then you would go to the shop and you would not think about your apartment as a whole piece that consists of elements. You would just buy one thing that is pretty to you. You would never think, oh, how it's gonna look in my house. Now we can afford it because we have everything in every color possible, in every shape possible, with every material possible for each and every interior design. So we have that choice, and very often it's not even expensive. Even I remember I would go to the shop and I would buy something that is pretty by itself. I didn't think about how it's gonna look with this outfit, how it's gonna look with this apartment. So a woman goes to the shop, she sees all those different blouses, then she sees this sparkly blouse. Of course she's gonna go for that because she never had something like this. It's beautiful, it's sparkling. She's just buying the thing. She's never thinking within the look. Also, before, people didn't make that many photographs of themselves. Now it's social media. Our eyes are trained. We see, oh, that is a static picture. That's beautiful. It's just ridiculous sometimes of how simple elements there are now to create a beautiful picture. And at that time, no, each piece had to be an art piece. It doesn't matter how it matches. So people who were slightly upgraded in their taste, they would at least match everything by color. And I remember in USSR, that was quite popular. So at least you would match things in color. And flowers and that geometry, they just don't match. They create so much clutter visually because of the shapes. But as far as color matches, that's good. And I think we kind of cleared our minds during this period of time. Now we can add a little bit of color here and there, a little bit of texture here and there, add some interesting elements and add some personality to the room. Another thing that happened in 2010s, YouTube, beauty bloggers. Many girls started filming themselves. They started experimenting with different lighting setup, with camera setup. They started changing their environment because they were filming at home. They realized that with this yellow light, with my computer camera, everything just looks very bad. So they started upgrading their equipment, upgrading the look of their room. Some girls would film in front of their window, just on their phones, which is fine. But then the rest of the room just looked very bad. It looked yellow with this yellow light. So they would change the lamps to white lamps, or 4000, the one that I told you, kind of in between white and yellow. They would color on the walls white, so the light would be reflected from the walls and glow their face a little bit more. And the background just would be a little bit more clean, because clothes and makeup and hair and she looks a bit better with this light and plain and simple background. The picture looked more expensive, more upgraded, nice to the eyes. White walls were like professional reflectors. Then they started buying professional lamps, setting it up in their rooms. White walls also would reflect this light beautifully, and at the same time, very good makeup products started appearing. All these HD foundations that you don't see pores. So everything came into place, how to create this perfect picture. So it would be clear, but then you would look pretty in there. And that is quite huge change. So everybody who was online, who was watching YouTube, they started catching that too for their houses. Not necessarily filming themselves, but just it felt good. It's probably the least expensive way how you can really transform your space and make it very photographable. This is why these pictures look different from these pictures. This is an unphotographable space. Also, all these patterns, in my taste, they are quite noisy. Nowadays, there are people that still go for these floral wallpapers, but they just look slightly different and the whole interior looks different. So when a woman is choosing how to look in the house and make pretty pictures, don't dress up like crazy. Just wear something regular. Sometimes there are some pajamas that look absolutely stunning. If you're in your pajama, don't make your hair too stiff. Don't make a lot of makeup. Just daytime makeup, very fresh, very gentle. Hair that is slightly relaxed. Or something slightly upgraded. For example, jeans and cashmere sweater. All these knits and natural fabrics, linen and cotton, all that looks great with whether daylight or with artificial lamps in your house. It creates that very cozy look. The colors that you're choosing for your makeup are better be slightly more earth tones, very calm. You can just add some brows there, some blush, something that would make you look healthier, more glowing. That would be already enough. And then the pose, again, something relaxed would be nice. Inclining on the chair, or you're standing and putting your hand on something like this, so it would be slightly more air between your arms and your body, or between your legs. Like put your legs slightly aside too. It helps too. Like when there's more air between your limbs and your body, that normally looks more relaxed and a little bit better than many women. They just do these stiff pictures. Also, what some women do, they sit on the floor when making pictures in the house. Remember, we have to see the story behind your picture. We have to describe what's happening. And don't sit straight to the camera. That normally looks quite stiff. Sit slightly on the side with your legs like this. It always is more flattering. All these diagonals are making you look not only slimmer, but just in general it looks more elegant. Also, I would not open legs too much if you sit in front of the camera, even if you're wearing pants. Better if you still go slightly to a side and close this area. Also, some women do bathroom poses. Still, you can sit on a chair. It just looks more natural. Also, some women like to sit on the table or on countertop. That's fine, but then I'm trying to find the story behind it. And if you stand, also go slightly diagonal. You don't have to stand straight to the camera. That normally looks a little bit stiff sometimes. The more relaxed you are, the more real it is. The last thing that I want to tell you, not everything that is very colorful and floral and sparkly is making you shine. You know, you are your best flower. And you can create that amazing canvas for you to shine on that picture. Alright, that's it. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I hope that was interesting. Please let me know in the comments, what relationship do you have with your interior design? What kind of journey did you have? I'm just very curious to read about this. Thank you. Bye-bye.